Is God of War Ragnarok a good game? Yes, it is a good game. The first 10 minutes of God of War Ragnarok already reeled me in. It starts off with Kratos and Atreus with these two wolves. You'd think it would start off slow, but then Freya attacks you, then goes, Kratos! You fight this big ass bear, and when you think it's all over and the game calms down, Thor pulls up and you already feel a big fight coming in, and then he just goes, I have need. God of War Ragnarok is a good game. It's not flawless, it's not a masterpiece, it's just a good game. I know that sounds like I'm undermining the game, but that is probably the best and most respectful way to rate Ragnarok. One of my favorite parts about Ragnarok is how it learned from God of War 2018. My main problem with God of War 2018 was the lingering sense of repetition. The amount of times I had to fight the exact same troll and that stupid ogre was beyond exhausting, and you definitely felt the game's limits with what it could show you. In Ragnarok, there's a lot less repetitive enemies and more enemy types. Mini-bosses can show up multiple times throughout the playthrough, but they're more spread out across the entire game. The combat has some weight and power to them as the AI constantly challenges the player. Don't get me wrong, there are times where the game just throws mini-bosses at you because it can, and how it handles throwing large groups of enemies at you can be better, but it is a huge step up from all the trolls. Ragnarok is also a more expansive game, visiting all 9 realms with all 9 of them being so unique and beautiful. All 9 realms having their own history and mystery. There's a lot more characters, a lot more dialogue, and a lot more ooh moments. The game doesn't fail to show off its fancy visuals, but there is a flaw within this game. The traversal just sort of kills time and isn't as fun as the other things Ragnarok has to offer. Ragnarok's story isn't as simple and small like God of War 2018's story, but rather it's larger in scale with higher stakes. The most heartbreaking scene was when Berger, the greatest character in all of fiction, died. Berger! No! For One of my other complaints would be replayability. Because of how much Ragnarok relies on a good first time experience, there's often a lot of epic moments that would be impactful on the first playthrough, but there would be less of an impact after the second or third playthrough. There is a lot of walking and talking, so the dialogue that would be interesting in the first run wouldn't be as interesting on the second or maybe even third. But now I'm just sounding like I don't like this game. So why do I like God of War Ragnarok? Why do I think it's a good game? Well, let me tell you. God of War Ragnarok is a good game because of how it mixes good gameplay with a great story. Yes, this is a game where the bad guy is a dictator that is sort of likable and you lead the rebel group to kill him, but it's a lot more interesting and is executed better than most games that share the same concept. The Norse world in God of War is full of mystery and it feels like you've only scratched the surface. The story unfolds in front of your eyes as you yourself aren't sure what to expect next. God of War Ragnarok feels so limitless with how many times it's outdone itself, how many times it's made you pay attention to its characters and story. There's a lot of talking in this game. Whether it is of value or not, the characters are just so interesting to the point where you listen either way. The voice acting, motion capture, and the character designs work together so well to make such likable characters. As the ever-growing Atreus learns from Kratos, Kratos himself learns from Atreus. It's a story of trusting each other, bettering ourselves, and rebelling against prophecy to write your own fate. There's still a level of mystery that can get your imagination to run wild. God of War Ragnarok isn't flawless, it isn't a masterpiece, it's just a good game. It showcases a certain level of quality that we don't often see. The games we loved aren't perfect, much like how God of War Ragnarok isn't perfect. It's at its best in its first playthrough and you would wish to play this game again for the very first time. This is the type of game that you will wait 5 years for. Literally, this game will play with your emotions as much as it plays with your curiosity, considering the length of this game. As the credits roll after such a long journey, much like Odin himself, you'll end up wanting to know more.